Welcome back to the Convo Couch, everybody. Pasta Jardula here.
And I'm Fiorella.
And Jonny Sue is still spinning on those ones and twos. So, fam, we're on Facebook today along with ROKFIN, along with YouTube. Because
you want to know why we're on Facebook?
Yes,
because there's a lot of Neoliberals here and a lot of progressives who think they're progressive that have been shit posting things about doing calls for Biden and vote shaming people who are voting third party in California. On top of all of that, in freaking California, the bluest state in the West. I mean, well, maybe, I don't know. It's extremely blue. It's one of the bluest states in general. I mean, we have Oregon, Washington, California, all these states you could vote third party, grow the third parties, and still, if you care about Biden winning, Biden would still likely win. This is where we're at right now. But instead, what people are doing is vote shaming people for voting their conscience, and they forget. It's like they have selective amnesia that we didn't do this thing 4 years ago. We were here 4 years ago being vote shamed to vote for Hillary Clinton. Now, let me ask somebody who voted for Hillary Clinton in a swing state, Pasta. You voted for Hillary Clinton in a swing state. You were a huge Bernie supporter.
Ow. Why are you bringing up bad memories? My heart, fam.
And you know, and I was a little disappointed, you know, when I saw that. But guess what, Pasta? Why did you do it, and why are you not going to do that this time, even if you were in Florida?
Well, because number one, the same thing we're witnessing right now, what you're talking about, is what I succumbed to last time. I really bent the knee because I caved into the pressure of being called a sexist if I vote for the pussy grabber, or if I don't vote for Joe Biden. If I don't vote for, I get them mixed up. If I don't vote for Hillary Clinton, I'm supporting the pussy grabber. I'm supporting the racist. I'm supporting the misogynist. I'm supporting the warmonger, despite all that history that Hillary Clinton had and all those mistakes. And I really caved under the pressure, and I signed my mail-in ballot. I put my Bernie shirt on. I jumped on a plane and I moved back to California crying when I did it. And after everything that transpired and seeing the behavior of the Democratic Party, and believe you me, ladies and gentlemen, Johnny's been here long enough to see it firsthand, how the Democratic Party behaves, how the fact it's just a corporate mechanism that doesn't want change, how it's a corporate mechanism that will never give you any change. It will always dupe you and always try to pressure you into not vote for the other guy. And guess what, fam? I'm not falling for it again. And I want to say that your video that has 1.7 thousand views should have 10.7 thousand views, because she hits it right on the nose, goes over everything we went over. They're doing it again, ladies and gentlemen. Why? And I'm gonna make a statement right over here again with the identity politics. You're just privileged to go vote for to not vote for Joe Biden. Okay, this is why Donald Trump is in office. Okay, because you tell somebody who's poor, who, despite his privilege, that you shame him into try to vote for you, it just sets off this whole freaking set of fireworks. And once again, I'm just so pissed off about it. You're not going to shame me into voting for a segregationist. Period. Not happening.
And not to mention the fact that it's privileged to vote for Joe Biden because you think that Joe Biden is somehow better than Donald Trump. That is a privileged point of view. Somebody called Pasta a privilege, and he's using his white privilege for voting for not voting for Biden,
not even voting for Trump.
For not voting for Biden. And it's like, are you going to call me white privilege too? Like a woman of color, an immigrant, you're going to call me white privilege too? Because I'm not going to vote for Joe Biden? Because I think he's a fascist? He's a crypto-fascist, just like Donald Trump is a fascist? That they're two sides of the same coin? Are you going to shame me for not doing that? Because all that does is radicalize people to not vote for him. That's all it did. When the Green Party went into Wisconsin, Texas, Pennsylvania, and tried to literally completely rig the elections in their favor because they know that they're vulnerable right now. They know people are sick and tired of this duopoly, which isn't even a duopoly, it's an oligarchy, and that they're going to lose, and they're scared because they don't want you to vote your conscience, because they don't want your vote to count. They select and elect who becomes president. The vast majority of our elections are completely unfair, and it's time people stop pretending that we can't talk about it because I'm a sore loser.
What are you talking about? What proof do you have that Joe Biden rigged the elections? I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe the fact that the Democratic lawyers in court, in a federal court with the Jared Beck case where Nico House was in the House, and they said, you know what, we can go to the back room filled with cigar smoke and pick whoever we want. We don't have to give you the results of the Democratic primary. We don't have to give you democracy. They didn't pay any price for that then. We don't have WikiLeaks to prove it now, but what makes you think they will change?
And not to mention the fact that aside from that, 2020 had its share of election fraud that we documented, that we were on top of, that the Bernie Sanders campaign itself ignored and framed. Some of the people in charge here framed as conspiracy theory. And then, of course, what happened? We were proven right, unfortunately, because guess what? Bernie should have slayed California. Biden shouldn't have had any delegates at all. Bernie Sanders should have won New Hampshire. The exit polls were off. There were so many issues with the machines. The poll workers told us. They came here and they told us that this was going to be a disaster.
Polling at 8%, but gets 26% of the votes. Didn't even come. This is Joe Biden. Didn't even come to California to campaign during any of the conventions because he wasn't wanted there.
So we're working on.
You tell me.
And we're working on this documentary, fam, that we're gonna be showing people. Yeah. But there's a lot of documentaries out there. It's the fact that people just want to continue believing in the system. So
yeah. They don't really expose. We're not having the real discussion we need to have when it comes to our elections.
We're not going after
because
the
we
core.
wouldn't be in this. Exactly. What is the problems? All we're talking and advocating for is free, fair, and transparent elections. Something so simple. The excuse we use to go around with our imperialism and topple one democracy after another by saying their elections were a sham, Maduro's elections were a sham, Chavez's elections were a sham, Lukashenko's elections were a sham. Well, we have the worst fucking elections. Even the Jimmy Carter Institute says that the Venezuela elections is one of the best in the world. Ours, there's so many areas of destruction. And even when a person like Jimmy Carter says, hey, listen, the mail-in voting is ripe for fraud, you want to say, oh, no, this is just another Donald Trump thing that he's making up to cheat the election. No, the Democrats cheat as well as the Republican. It's a bipartisan practice. And if we really want real systemic change, we have to tackle that first and not bow into it and go and vote for Joe Biden like the good zombie sheepdog that you are.
And let's even not even mention election fraud, even though it's one of the major things that literally led us to this very moment. Let's just talk about the fact that Joe Biden and the Democratic Party have spit in your face and given you absolutely nothing. They've given you absolutely nothing. In fact, they told you in the middle of a pandemic that they would veto Medicare for all.
That's what Joe said.
That's what Joe said. He said he's not going to defund the police. We're going to talk about Breonna Taylor, and we can talk about all the other people that have been shot by police. Why do you think people are out there protesting? They're not just protesting against police brutality. They're protesting against the injustices, the lack of action by Democratic leaders. There are homeless people here that are taking matters into their own hands and building communities here because guess what? The governor isn't doing crap for them. City council isn't doing crap for them. The mayors aren't doing crap for them. And guess what we have here in California? We have a Democratic supermajority. We have a Democratic supermajority all over Washington, Oregon, California. These are the places where there is more protests. Yep. And yet we have Democratic leaders. So how are you going to convince me that putting in Joe Biden, who's essentially to the right of all those people in charge right now, is going to make anything better? Are those people going to care about who becomes president tomorrow when they're homeless and sitting there? Do they really give a damn if it's Joe Biden or Donald Trump? Is their life going to be any different? No, it's not. Their life is dependent on the community that they're building and the local things that they're doing and how they're going outside the electorate to make change. Because if you sit and wait for the government to do something for you, guess what? You're going to be waiting a really long time.
Yeah. Well, Joe Biden, he beat the Socialist, fam. So I think that he has the right. Hey, look at my record. I beat the Socialist. I looked at your record. There's a lot more of the things I've seen you beat.
We know you're not a socialist,
Joe. We know, Joe, and stuff. Know. So, fam, first article up. Why don't you just... Oh, sorry. Third-party votes represent dissent in the popular vote. They let Congress, the parties, the media, and the people know that there are voters who will vote that do not approve of the candidates that were selected by the main parties. In addition to this, they can help the party attain the 5% needed to qualify for public funding in the next election. The more dissenting votes, the greater the impact. So no matter what the establishment partisans tell you, third-party votes do count. Can I just also piggyback on that right there, too, as well? Not only that right there, not even about the third party, about possibly getting to the 5%. I think it's time to let the establishment know that we're not just going to vote for them when they give us nothing whatsoever. Right. I think you said it in your video, fam. They're giving you nothing. This whole thought process, the one with the clown that I'm going to vote for Biden, that he's better than Trump, and that's all that matters. And once Biden gets into power, then I'm going to make the power structure will to my demand. No, You make them move to get your vote. You don't just give them their vote and then count on them helping you out because they're going to leave you high and dry. Isn't it time that we send a message to the establishment, the Democratic establishment, that their days of doing business the way they do business are done? If you're going to be a party that says they're going to represent the working class people and the minorities and the people out there and the immigrants that are coming in and everybody who's suffering out there, with Medicare and whatnot, why don't you bend to the will of the people? But if you don't hold their feet to the fire, they're never going to do it. They're going to tell you blah, 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 that blah, 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 and then go ahead and push the policies that Donald Trump's pushing. There's not much, light between these two parties, fam. And I don't think until people say, hey, let's show these people we're not going to bend to the will of the Democratic Party ever again.
How do you hold people's feet to the fire? How are you going to push someone left that you don't control? You don't control Joe Biden. He doesn't work for you. He works for the corporations and the lobbyists in Washington, D.C.
No shit.
He works for Wall Street. That's who Joe Biden works for. How the hell do you think you're going to push Biden left? So you're going to give up all your power and you're going to let them know that no matter what they do to you, no matter how many times they beat you up and spit on you and chew you up and throw you out like you're nothing, that you're going to vote for them. And yes, and then you're going to say, oh, can you please pass Medicare for all? Is that what you're going to do? Well, guess what? It's not going to happen because you gave up your power. By voting for them, you are giving up the little increment of power that you have. That is all we have right now. And I'm not giving that up. Yeah. And a lot of people aren't giving that up. And it's not our fault that the Democratic Party completely rigged it to put down Bernie Sanders and to pretty much kill him in a metaphorical sense, because now all he's doing is parading for Joe Biden, even though Joe Biden is literally blasting him in his own sort of pitches to be the better Republican, because that's what he's doing. Instead of going after independents and progressives,
he's trying to be the better Republican.
He's trying to be the better Republican.
He hasn't even gone out to give the progressives nothing this whole time since he's secured the nomination. He's been going after the Republican vote. I'm not going to defund the police. What are you talking about? I'm not defunding
rioters and looters.
You know what I'm saying? Exactly, all that stuff. Thing. He's not. I believe in Medicare for all. Well, I don't. Like, literally, he does. He said he would veto it in a pandemic. He's not even trying to be a Democrat now. He's trying to out Trump, and you have no shot of doing that. And the thing that I really hate is not only that the fact that you're going to capitulate to the establishment, is the fact that you're telling people who don't want to play this game anymore that they're privileged. You're shaming them in to try to vote for you, to vote for Joe, the segregationist Biden. It's disgusting. And you know who you are out there. Anytime, any place. Sorry.
And so Joe Biden blasted Bernie in his pitch to Wisconsin voters saying, I beat the socialists. So let's hear what Joe Biden said in this interview to a Fox 11 news reporter. Yeah.
Talk to the voters that are worried about socialism and you raising taxes.
First of all, I guarantee, I promise, I've never broken my word. Anyone making less than $400,000 will not see one single penny in their tax raised. Number two, I beat the socialists. That's how I got elected. That's how I got the nomination. Do I look like a socialist? Look at my career, my whole career. I am not a socialist. Number three, what we're going to do is make sure that we make people begin to pay their fair share. I'm not trying to punish anybody.
Talk to the voters that are worried about...
I mean, he really cares about Republicans.
Yeah.
People have to pay their fair share. I'm not trying to punish anybody. And if you make, under 400,000, Holmes, man, 99% of this freaking state, this country's making under 400,000.
And he literally used every single Republican talking point. Everyone. I'm not a socialist. You can look at my record. Look, it says I'm not a socialist. I beat the socialists, so fuck Bernie Sanders, right?
Yeah.
Like, fuck him. He's out there doing more campaigning for me than my entire campaign staff is. But yeah, like, no, we don't want him. Oh, do you not want his base then? Because his base is never going to vote for you. Yeah. The true leftists and the true anti-establishment people aren't going to vote for Joe Biden. Yeah. And that's because we're listening to Bernie. We're listening to old Bernie. We're listening to the Bernie that didn't capitulate to the establishment. We're not going to listen to AOC and Bernie, who are telling you, sheep herding you back into the Democratic Party, a dead party that has absolutely nothing to do right now. There is zero ways progress forward with the Democratic Party. Progressives will never get anything within the Democratic Party, ever, because the Democratic Party has fought harder to push leftists and progressives and the anti-establishment people that we could all unite away than to defeat Donald Trump. This isn't trying hard to defeat Trump. Look at them. They're not even trying to defeat Trump.
And let me say this much to the people out there who say that we're going to vote Joe Biden and then we're going to go back to taking over the party. It's a fool's errand. you're never going to take over the party. You tried to take over the wrong party. You shouldn't have waited for Bernie Sanders. I mean, I can understand waiting for Bernie Sanders to try to run again. You know what I'm saying? Maybe having a lot of mechanisms in place that would stop the cheating from the establishment. He didn't. They got caught with their pants down again. But you out there who's saying that you're going to vote for Joe Biden and take the party over, you're kidding yourself right now. It has a corporate mechanism involved that it won't allow you to take over the party.
It is a fantasy.
Just look at the California Democratic Party. They have more pleos than people who can vote it in. They have this delegate process, which is way outnumbered by the pleos, meaning the legislation gets to pledge, take a person, whatnot, and they appoint people who are going to vote for them to keep their power. That's how they maintain their power. So stop with the fool's errand. You're barking up the wrong tree, and you're really making a fool out of yourself. And to those neo-progressives out there that are now working the phones for Joe Biden, out of here with that.
Yeah, there is no way forward with the Democratic Party. We see it in locally in California, even in the local areas. They're trying to throw people out for cursing. That you can't curse now. The civility bullshit. They're trying to do. They focus on all these stupid things that have nothing to do with policy, because if they focused on policy, then they wouldn't be working for the donors and the corporations that they're supposed to work for. That's the thing. You're never going to get over that structure. You might make a few changes here and there, but you're never going to be able to grab hold of that power. And we have seen it time and time again. We have seen the Obamas before. We have put the squad in there to oppose the party. And what happens? They have to work within the confinements of the Democratic, and then they go in there and they capitulate every single time.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. In the 4 years, no matter who wins, they're going to say you have to vote for this person because this person is really bad. That's what's been going on for the last decades. And it's going to keep happening over and over and over again until you stop it and stop giving in your power and stop thinking that you're morally superior to all of us. It's the attitude of,
you're doing the right thing.
I'm following in Bernie's footsteps. Oh, look, AOC and Bernie, like, they said to do this, and the squad, so I'm following in their footsteps. Fuck that. Like, what? Who are they? They're politicians. They're public servants. They're supposed to serve us. You're not supposed to serve them, and you're treating them like they're celebrities, like they're deities, like they're these people right here. When no, they are grounded. They should be here, and you need to stop putting them on this pedestal that they don't deserve to be on, because they're capitulating to the establishment and they're preventing an actual revolution from happening. Revolutions don't happen within the Democratic Party. That's not a revolution. That's capitulation. So let's stop pretending that. Let's stop pretending that you're a better person because you're following their footsteps, that you're a better person because, I'm fighting for the immigrant kids. Who built those cages? Who built those cages? Who invaded Honduras and ousted the democratically elected leader? I have spoken to the people in Tijuana, the people who were migrants here, who came in the caravans, and they didn't name a Republican as the people who threw their democratically elected leader, Manuel Zelaya. They named Hillary Clinton. They named Hillary Clinton in her foreign policy. And I'm not saying that Republicans don't want to go to war. Obviously they do. Yeah. That's where the Democrats and the Republicans hold hands and make love, is when it comes to war and when it comes to power. Yeah. And that's what we're on the brink of right now. And if Joe Biden becomes president, the military-industrial complex and then the intelligence agencies, those people going after right now, Julian Assange, those people going after him are going to be the president, the real president.
Joe Biden whipping the phones, right, to make sure that Assange can't get extradition in other countries. Snowden, remember Snowden? Same thing with Assange, but Snowden. He was calling other countries, don't accept his extradition, don't let him come there, whatnot. We want to get him. And pretty much that's what he did, fighting against your civil liberties. And, I wrote down 5 areas, and I just want to make a point, too, as well. The fact that we were talking about Manuel Zelaya and actually what happened, who built those cages, that is the point where a lot of Republicans don't, when they say, build a wall, we want to protect our borders and stuff like that. That's the part that they ignore, the fact that we're causing the problem in the first place.
Problems.
So we're going to call balls and strikes across the board.
And also, really quickly, I just want to say, the Trump administration had the opportunity to pardon Assange. He still does, and he's not doing it either. So all of you Trump supporters who voted for him because you thought he was going to be the anti-interventionist, the guy that's going to take care of your civil liberties, he's doing the opposite. They're jailing people. But William Barr is making it impossible to protest now, threatening sedition on these protesters. Yeah. And so, I'm not defending Republicans here. I'm not saying go vote for Donald Trump. I'm saying screw the whole system as a whole. Yeah. I'm saying go outside the electorate. It is time for direct actions. Look at what is happening around you and stop thinking some politician is going to come and save you.
I made a post the other day. Gloria Jones, fees spitting fire right now. No cap. I mean, no crap. Whatever. I love you, Gloria. Thank you for super chat contributions. Always appreciated on the couch. I made a post the other day, and I have some serious, honest questions because a lot of people have contacted me personally. I have some friends, too, who they really think will be affected. I put 5 areas you think about. Is Joe better than Don? The ACA and healthcare, fam. Your thoughts on that? Because I have a friend of mine, I love him, whatnot. He really depended upon the ACA, and he feels if Donald Trump gets in office, and Donald Trump's been trying to dismantle the ACA from the get-go, and also healthcare, is it really a position where we should say, hey, maybe we should vote for Joe over Don because of healthcare?
Here's the thing. The ACA, Obama had both houses. He had both houses. He had the Senate and Congress. And instead of passing Medicare for all, he pushed the ACA, which is a completely corporatist sort of like paved way. It's a way to, it's the same type of neoliberal bullshit that they do is like, they're like, oh, we're giving you something, but they're really not. What they're really doing is slowing down the eventual collapse of this system, because you cannot have health insurance depend on money, on insurance companies. Not like it is a human right. And so instead of fighting for Medicare for all and simply demanding it, when every major country on earth has a universal healthcare system, no matter what it is, it's not called Medicare for all, it's called whatever it is, but they have nationalized healthcare. Every major country except us. So when you're saying, oh, we have to fight to protect the ACA, so we have to vote for Republicans, you're perpetuating the fact that we're never going to get Medicare for all because you are accepting that.
Exactly. That's the biggest thing.
It is not time for incrementalism. Yeah. We don't have time for it.
I think Joe Biden's been plain and clear. He said he would veto Medicare for all in the middle of a freaking pandemic. You know what I'm saying? He's tied to Big Pharma. We know this. The ACA might have had some bright spots in it, but for the most part, it didn't fix the healthcare problem we had in this country. So if, in fact, you vote for Joe Biden over Donald Trump because if you want to protect the ACA, you're actually taking us 2 steps back. Because the same kind of insurance-mandated mentality of healthcare, which is what will be implemented. You know what I'm saying? It's better if we let the 4 years go through and then come back with some real healthcare and a candidate who's willing to fight for it and stand up for it and not bow down to the very bought off by the Big Pharma Democratic Party across the board.
And it's not even about letting it off 4 years or Trump winning or any of this. It's about, you want healthcare? Demand healthcare. What are we doing? Why aren't we having mass protests for healthcare? Yeah. Why does that not happen? Why are there thousands of people protesting Ruth Bader Ginsburg's death, and I don't see thousands of people protesting for economic inequality in this country? That doesn't happen in this country. People don't protest for those things. Yeah. Why? Do you think it doesn't matter? It absolutely matters. That is how people achieve change. We need to look to countries like France. We need to look at these countries that make their politicians cry. They make their politicians leave because they don't shut up. And they halt and they don't stop until they get what they need. Yeah. That's what we need to do. Stop begging for scraps because that's all you're ever going to get.
Okay, well, what about this issue of immigration and undocumented immigrants? Because a friend of mine, the last year when it was a thread with some friends, and one particular woman told me, hey, I'm sick and tired of this particular party, the Trump administration trying to take over, whatnot, and was kind of saying for immigration and undocumented immigrants, we had to vote for the Democrats. Somebody today on that thread said, I'm voting for Joe Biden. It's somebody I love and respect. And she said, I'm voting for Joe Biden because I have undocumented friends. And then I'm going to try to, the second part of her comment was, I'm going to fix the fight, get in there to fight to take back the Democratic Party. Number one, you never had the Democratic Party. Two, you're never going to take it, period. That's just pipe dreams. But what about the fact of immigration and undocumented immigrants? Would Joe be better than Don on that?
Joe Biden is the guy that literally wanted to build a wall in 2007. I don't know if you can find it. I think we played it before. Yeah. But Joe Biden was telling people,
build a fence. He said a fence, but
yeah. Well, but it was a 7 mile long. Yeah. Giant fence, which is essentially the same thing. He was in a meeting with people and he was advocating for that. He's wanted to do that for a long time. With the Obama administration, Joe Biden, and like I said, and Obama literally built the cages for these kids to go in. They set up this whole system. That's why I'm saying Joe Biden is the architect of the system for Trump to exploit. This is what Trump is exploiting. We would never have Donald Trump if we didn't have Obama, Bush, Clinton, and others before him. This is where we come to. Problems didn't just begin with Trump. Trump has made the problem so glaringly aware, which is why people hate him too, because it's like he's made it everybody be like, wow, this is how ugly it is. But you can hate Donald Trump all you want, and I'm not saying not to hate him, but what I am saying is he is a symptom of this whole bigger issue. And Joe Biden, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton continued their warmongering foreign policy, which led to mass immigration into this country, which leads to Republicans using that to blame the Democrats and to blame immigrants. So white working class people who have been left behind by the Democratic Party go and say, oh, it's that immigrant is taking my job. It's that immigrant that is getting in the way. You shouldn't give them anything. We need to protect us first, because guess what happens then? You fight with those people instead of looking at who is really behind that. And it's the oligarchs, it's these elites that are doing that. And it's not a conspiracy theory, that is reality. It is these people in power that are so corrupt and so greedy that they try to pit people against each other so we don't go after the real culprits. And so when you vote red or blue, that's literally what you're doing. You're perpetuating that divide. And as an immigrant and as a Latina and as somebody that's gone in there and talked to these people, no one president is going to solve this issue. This is bigger. This issue is related directly to foreign policy. We need to abolish ICE. Well, that also means defunding the police, which also means demilitarizing the police, which also means the military industrial complex and the CIA are involved. Because if you want to abolish ICE, you have to want to abolish the CIA who created them. You're going to defund the Pentagon just as well. And fam, when it comes to foreign policy, I'm so sorry. These are one of the areas where not that I think Donald Trump is great on, but I think he's a lot better than Joe Biden. Look at Joe Biden's history and what they've done, the other states, the other countries they've gone into. And, this is an issue where I tell Republicans, hey, man, you wouldn't even need a wall if we'd stop getting involved in these other countries like Honduras, like Guatemala, like Salvador. Donald Trump has perpetuated the whole system. But once again, the actual moves that were made, Bolivia too as well, but the actual moves that were made, and just listening to Joe Biden the other day when it comes to foreign policy, he's no better. In fact, I think he's worse. He still wants to keep troops in Afghanistan. He still wants to keep troops in Iraq. I'm saying the power vacuum, the spreading democracy, that's the rhetoric from the establishment left. And this is an area where the neoprogressives, unfortunately, and the neoprogressives are the ones who are telling you to vote for Joe Biden, good-hearted at the core, but they don't understand foreign policy. They don't connect the dots. Zero.
They don't even look at it. They don't even look at the civil liberties issue.
It doesn't matter.
It's terrible.
It doesn't matter to them.
What about the EPA, fam? Because, we got, I think it was Scott Pruitt. You had Rex Tillerson. These guys are really, really bad. Donald Trump, when it comes to climate change, is awful. Joe Biden's got a better score from Greenpeace than Donald Trump. Even though Barack Obama was the fracker in peace. Can we make a case for Joe Biden is better for the environment than Donald Trump?
Joe Biden did not adopt the Green New Deal. Okay. Joe Biden believes in science. So yes, Joe Biden believes in science. Okay. He gets 1 point for that. But you know where he gets negative points is believing in science like the Democrats do, and knowing that you believe in science and knowing what's happening, and then still not doing what needs to be done to curtail climate catastrophe. That's worse to me than being an idiot and not believing in science, because you believe in it, you understand it, and you knowingly aren't going to do enough to stop what's happening. You're in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of economic collapse and climate catastrophe. You're not going to pass something like a New Deal, like create new jobs in a sector that needs to be explored, like wind power, solar energy, marijuana. The marijuana industry, the hemp industry, all these industries that could be explored. Instead of doing that, you're going to mock it like Nancy Pelosi did and say Green New Deal or whatever, while California is burning. Governor Newsom has issued hundreds of fracking permits, hundreds of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
40 since the pandemic started.
And he's
since
a Democrat.
Since the pandemic started.
And he's a Democrat. Yeah. Dianne Feinstein. Ooh, she completely mocked
when she told the little kids.
Pelosi, I could go on and on. Obama was the fracker in chief. He was the fracker in chief.
Fam, when it comes to Standing Rock, let's just see how things play out. And Joe Biden was silent. Joe Biden took fracking money. And once again, I think Fiorella has kind of pointed out a lot of her videos, and we talk about this when it comes to the judges or the EPA or anybody they have to appoint. They're just as conservative as the Republicans pick whatsoever. They're all about big corporate austerity, whatnot, and stuff. Okay, but I have a point here, fam. What about racial justice? When it comes to racial justice, Trump, even though he has more people of color voting for him than McCain, Romney, all those guys, you know what I'm saying? racial justice has to be in the ballpark of Joe Biden. If you care about racial justice, even though he said, I don't want my kids growing up in a jungle, you have to vote for Joe, a racial jungle, I think he said, right? Something like that.
And Hillary Clinton's super predator?
Yeah. Just because he wrote the crime bill. What about racial justice, fam?
I just want to say Donald Trump foments anti-immigration rhetoric. Donald Trump foments climate change, anti-climate change rhetoric. Donald Trump foments this idea that these protesters are violent looters and all of that. All of that is very true. You cannot deny that. Donald Trump uses this language that incites people to go after these protesters and incites people to go after immigrants and people of color. Yes, Donald Trump absolutely does that because he knows his base and he's exploiting that. He's exploiting this for political gain. That is awful, and I recognize that, and I think he's an awful, awful person, and I will never vote for him. But what Joe Biden and the Democrats do is that they pretend to be your friend. They're wolves in sheep's clothing, and they go and they say, oh, we care about racial justice, and we're going to put Black Lives Matter everywhere, and we're going to put a rainbow out there, and we're going to put in a statue of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but we're not going to give you equal pay. We're not going to give you defunding the police. We're not going to give you the money and the economic change needed for actual equity. We're not going to do that because we don't really want that, because we profit off of the status quo. So we're not going to change that. And that's what the Democratic Party has done. They have tokenized and weaponized people of color, non-Black people, Latino people, immigrants, women. They have tokenized us. And I'm sick and tired of being tokenized by the Democratic Party. This is why Donald Trump has more minority support, because they're so goddamn awful that they're driving people to the right. And it is scary to see. I don't want people going to the right, but that's what the Democratic Party is doing. They're doing that. Yeah. And if people aren't going to the left and then being shamed and insulted, then where do you want them to go? Because they're not going to go back to the Democratic Party. And all the Democrats do is just say Black Lives Matter, and then they go and turn around like Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden and say, oh, well, we support these protests. We support these protests. Yeah, but they never show up at protests. They never show solidarity with protests. They try to get rid of people like Shama Sawant who want to defund the police. They try to do all these things because they don't want change. They just want your vote without doing anything, and they talk pretty, but they're not going to change anything. Again, these Democratic governors in charge are all going after these protesters. Again, Joe Biden wrote the 1994 crime bill. Kamala Harris has jailed more Black and brown people than anybody else, and she did the whole theatrics, the whole theatrics at the Democratic debate.
She liked to listen to Tupac, Biggie, and Snoop Dogg and smoke weed and laugh about it while she jailed so many people for doing so as well, and then kept them in prison or jail to make sure that they work for cheap labor force to fight the fires, whatnot. I mean, she had a reason for doing it.
We can pull up Biden's record.
Yeah,
I mean, his record with people of color, he did by writing that crime bill and by Bill Clinton signing it. That took the 13th Amendment and made slavery into the prison system.
Business. That's it.
That's what happened, and that was done by Democrats.
Slavery. That's it.
So if you support a Biden-Harris ticket, sorry, but you can't say Black Lives Matter and actually mean it. Because you know what? Obviously, it's only matters symbolically. We're not getting any actual change from that.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to even ask about criminal justice when you mentioned the 1994 crime bill, because I don't think criminal justice is an area where Donald Trump is much worse than Joe Biden when Joe Biden authored that bill. You know what I'm saying? And I want to say, and the whole 9 yards.
They're both awful. I'm not trying to convince you here that one is better than the other. That doesn't even matter at this point. What matters is that we look beyond the electorate, look beyond the duopoly, stop being weapons used, tools of the establishment used to manipulate for their own narrative. And they just keep weaponizing us and weaponizing us and weaponizing us, and we don't get anything out of it.
By the way, North American Ape, thank you for the super chat contribution. It's always appreciated on the couch. He says he's going to drop kick the next blue check that says, go vote. Don't boo, vote. That was my Obama. After Taylor's verdict. Yes, I'm in New York, so how much blue can we vote? Right. What is this just vote BS? Yeah, they shouldn't say just go. People shouldn't say vote. They should say make your vote count. That's what it should be saying. Make your vote count. Because you want to make sure it legitimately counts, and then we're also going to have to look inward at the election system that's robbed so many people of making their vote count, especially for you, my man, who's in New York, who we know 750,000 people were purged from the Brooklyn voter rolls, all new people, mostly Bernie people in 2016. Nobody paid a price, but fam, I'm sure they won't do it again. They said they were sorry. We should just believe, what's his name? Who's the chairman of the friggin' goddamn Democratic Party? What's his name?
Chuck Schumer?
No, that we shouldn't believe that schmuck either. Tom Perez.
Oh, the chair.
The chair. Yeah, we should just believe
chair,
Tom Perez and just accept their apology and believe that we had a fair election this time. Cannabis sativa, devil's advocate, Biden will expand Medicaid for holdout red states. However, I'm still not voting for Joe Biden. Hashtag vote down ballot. Hashtag never Biden or Trump. Biden will expand Medicare for holdout red states. What do you think about that?
I mean,
I don't know where you got that theory from.
I don't know. I don't believe anything Joe Biden or the Democrats say, because remember when they said they all supported Medicare for all, and as soon as they got rid of Bernie, they went back to saying, oh no, we don't support that anymore. How can you believe anything that they say? Like, really, at this point? And again, we're fighting for crumbs. We need to fight for the whole piece of the pie.
Okay, this person with the super chat contribution. No, cannabis sativa. Biden will automatically clear weed records. No, he won't. The crime bill put people in jail for smoking weed, man. In fact, there's a couple Huh? Who? Joe did? He's full of shit. They wouldn't even fucking legalize it on their platform.
They're not going to do that.
Now all of a sudden he's going to do that. He's full of shit.
If you want to vote for Biden because you think he's going to do the things he says, sure. But in his little clip, he says, I never lied. He literally lied on national television about his interactions with multiple people, about his entire record. How are you going to trust him? I know people want to hold on to some hope that he's going to be better than Donald Trump. But even if he wins, the bigger thing for me is that people are going to go back to sleep.
Yeah. I mean, literally on the platform, they're not going to decriminalize weed. No. They're not going to legalize it. They're not going to even decriminalize it. They're not even attempted to take it off the federal fucking mandate.
No, they're not doing that.
Please. Now all of a sudden he's going to say some bullshit.
In order for that to happen, they would have to decriminalize. Like, they need to decriminalize it across the board. People are rotting in jail right now. People that Kamala Harris put in jail are still in jail for petty crimes like marijuana.
Kamala Harris put people in jail for that.
Yeah.
And they're going to sit there and say they're going to... Yeah,
while white people are opening dispensaries and getting rich off of it, while Monsanto is opening like their own shit and trying to like capitalize on that with Bayer. They made this whole union. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Again, we need to stop accepting, well, maybe if Biden does this, okay, fine. If that's what you think, sure. But don't vote shame people for not thinking.
And let's be honest, too. It's not just white people. They're corporatizing the whole fucking marijuana business in blue states. What they did here in Pasadena is an Armenian dude who lost his business. There's a white dude who lost his business. There's a Latino dude who lost his business for corporate cannabis to come in. Because that's what they're going to do. They're going to give off to corporations, even in the marijuana. So please don't start. Cannabis Sativa says, Fiery Fee is on fire, and whoop, whoop. Fam, you like my whoop, whoop? Also, Solomon, thank you for the super chat contribution, Solomon. It is always appreciated on the couch. Guys, 113 likes, almost 300 people watching. Help us out. We love you. American government is too arrogant to ask another nation for help with a damn thing. Blinded by superiority complex. Yes, they are. Yep. Plus, it would be admitting capitalism doesn't work. Anyways, wonderful content. Thank you. Solomon, we love you. We appreciate that stuff.
Thank you, Solomon.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going boots on the ground. You know, out here, you know what Feeding the Fam's all about. You know what I'm all about. We're going to take our show on the road, and we're going to report shit that's going on, protecting our civil liberties.
What civil liberties?
Well, we don't have them anymore.
And I just want to mention real quick, Julian Assange today. They were the prosecution was trying to be psychiatrist and bringing up autism and trying to dismiss the fact that he's on the spectrum, and it's disgusting. And if he loses that trial and we extradite him here, that's it. He's gone. He's gone. And so with him, and so are all these people that are being jailed, all of that, all the journalists being attacked. We all have less protections because they're trying to make an example of this man. And none of these progressives on the phones for Biden are talking about Julian Assange, because Julian Assange is on the back burner. It's like, oh, he's some guy over there in England. Yeah, he doesn't matter. Like, no, he matters so much because our intelligence agencies, our military industrial complex, our government is trying to put somebody in jail for exposing the fact that the government lied, for doing his job as a journalist. You should be completely scared about that more than anything.
Yeah.
And we should be telling Donald Trump we should be protesting Trump to pardon him rather than protesting him to impeach him, or protesting him because he said something stupid, or protesting him for whatever other bullshit that you want to protest him for.
Gotcha. I mean, listen, dude, when it comes to our civil liberties, the Democrats have doubled down on their dumbness and their stupidness. They've used the whole OMG attacks to say, you got to deplatform Alex Jones or deplatform this person stuff. Now we know somebody who got deplatformed, a lot of burners and stuff like that, and we're going, hey, this isn't a we told you so moment. It's like, get on this right here. This is important. If they control media, if they control the rhetoric, if they control the narrative, we're screwed. We'll never get our voices across. And we're talking about all different voices. Just their voice will be heard.
Yep.
They'll be able to dupe people into doing, and they're trying to do it right now. They dupe some of you guys because some of you guys are out there fighting for Biden. Johnny, you have anything to say about this subject before we go on to the next one? Okay, really quickly, guys, I made up a situation. I wrote this out, and Fee's going to correct me, give her opinion, same with Johnny. I categorized the political left because I think it was important to understand the different people on the left and what's going on there. So I have 4 categorized groups, and we're going to discuss them, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong. The first one is the, the liberal, which is also the neoliberal nowadays. I don't think there's any space between them. I think the liberal is now the neoliberal. And this is my opinion about them and what I wrote down. These two are one and the same, meaning liberal and neoliberal. The main characteristics of a neoliberal is that they advocate for social change, but also advocate for corporations and the free market to exist. A lot of neoliberals ignore austerity measures because it doesn't affect them financially. A good nickname for these identity politic warriors is latte liberal or wine moms. Fam?
Or Karens.
Or Karens. What are your thoughts about that, about a neoliberal or a liberal? Did that hit it on the nose? To pretty much say they advocate for social change. They talk about racial justice. However, they are okay with austerity measures. They're okay with corporations running things. They ignore the economics on the left. Is that a good...
Oh, yeah. So a neoliberal is a snake that has a rainbow outfit on. That's a neoliberal. And I'm not trying to degrade anybody by saying that, but that's what a neoliberal is. They pretend that they care about racial justice, gender justice, and all of these things, but they really don't care. They just tokenize it and symbolically put out their platitudes of, well, we have to come together, unite in our values and support our integrity of blah, blah, blah. And they completely ignore policy, because if they didn't ignore policy, then they wouldn't be able to be the corporate Democrats that they are. They're controlled by corporations entirely. And the neoliberals are this intellectual class that thinks they're so superior to everybody else. And it's interesting because we look at this in Latin America, and it's a little bit different here. They completely dismissed the white working class, who are very poor, maybe not as educated, and all those people who used to support the Democratic Party. Some of them were like Dixiecrats, because the Democrats used to be extremely popular in the South, by the way. This isn't anything new. This is history. And then what happened was that the Democrats left the white working class because they went into the intellectual elitist class and started working with these corporations and started supporting people who had offshore businesses, who didn't pay taxes, removing the jobs in America with TPP and NAFTA. And then the white working class was like, what the hell, you left us behind. And you saw that in West Virginia, how West Virginia went for Bernie in the primary and full red in the general in 2016. And those people are the ones that the Democratic Party lost. And those people, a lot of them are now Trump supporters because they felt abandoned by the Democrats. Because what happens is the Democrats, the neoliberals, they use and weaponize identity. So they're like, oh, Kamala Harris, we need a woman in the White House. We need a woman of color, Hillary, all these people. That's all they care about. But policy-wise, those people are just as right-wing as a lot of the Republicans
especially when it comes
are.
to foreign policy.
Especially when it comes to foreign policy.
And civil liberties. They're Nazis.
Yeah.
They don't care about freedom of speech and personal freedoms and all that stuff, which are important. Once again, the keys to the kingdom. You can sway the narrative of the rhetoric any way you want, kind of shut out any dissenting voices. That's the whole idea. And eventually, they might do it to Alex Jones, but if you let them do it to Alex Jones,
now they're doing it to other people.
They'll do it to you.
To the
and
left.
They got to you. Whatnot. Good examples of neoliberals, obviously, we know the Obamas, the Clintons, on TV, the Rachel Maddows, whatnot, the Joy Reids. The next one is a neoprogressive. I have 2 progressives. I have neoprogressive and true progressive. Okay, so the neoprogressives, are good-hearted at the core. However, they fall short of understanding actual policy and tend to be more morally focused on social and racial issues while remaining oblivious on foreign policy and civil liberties. Medicare for All, a Green New Deal, are at the top of their list, and they are often guilted into voting for corporate Dems by the oldest trick in the book. You got to stop the other guy. He's a Nazi, fam. And to describe who those neoprogressives are right now, those are the guys that we know that are out there, the ladies and gentlemen, who are now pushing for you to vote for Joe Biden.
Yeah,
they're good at the heart. They're on the streets. They're out there. We're going to see some in the rallies today, but they're going to go vote for Joe Biden because they really pay attention to behavior and rhetoric rather than look into what policy is going on.
Yeah.
And they never pay attention to foreign policy and civil liberties, fam. Is this a good example of a neoprogressive?
A lot of, not all, but a lot of the DSA contingent, the Rose, that is only focused on social democracy, really not trying to go to full socialism ideologies. They're very completely unaware of foreign policy, as Pasta said. People like if on YouTube, the Sam Cedars of the world, those types, the TYTs of the world, the people that completely believed in Russiagate still, because they were like, well, Trump is really bad and blah, blah, blah. But if you talk about civil liberties or if you talk about anti-interventionist wars, they don't know what they're talking about. They don't know how to deal with it. Who maybe vilified Tulsi Gabbard as a Republican, even though she was far to the left of a lot of people, including Bernie, on several issues. Those are the people that are kind of wishy-washy. A lot of them have good intent, as Pasta said, but in an essence, they're perpetuating what the establishment wants. And let me point out, I think the Squad falls in line completely in being some of these. They
are the
completely
neoprogressives.
they are like the leaders of that. They completely they're just ignoring foreign policy. They ignore Julian Assange. They ignore all these things that are equally as important in favor of good talks about a Green New Deal and stuff. But even her Green New Deal, which she took from the Green Party, wasn't really that great, and it was like extremely broad and didn't include fracking, and it's just like they're not really there. They're just trying to still work within the Democratic Party. It's
That's
the best
the
way I'm
problem.
trying to.
And I hate the fact
best way to
that they
describe
take
it.
the Democratic Party's playbook as far as the identity politics
Right.
attacks. They really use that, and it really kind of like the thing that really bothers me when it comes to that situation. It's the reason why Donald Trump won. It's like it's a tactic that pits people against each other rather than looking at who's really pulling the strings up above. And I think they fall into that. They might be morally right when it comes to that situation, but the way they use those attacks, and we saw it all today. Check your privilege. Oh my God, you're privileged if you're not going to vote for Joe Biden. If you're not going to vote for Joe Biden, they're saying you're privileged. Not even saying that you're privileged to go vote for Donald Trump. If you're just simply not voting for Joe Biden, then you're privileged. This is the kind of shit that really just. No, because a lot of people are done with the Democratic Party and seeing what they've given them, and they want to make a stand, and they don't want to vote for that type of crypto fascism because they pay attention to policy, they pay attention to foreign policy, so they have an out of it, and I think that's okay. I mean, I think they're allowed to do. I think I have every right to say, hey, I'm not going to perpetuate this system. I'm not going to buy into the two-party duopoly. I think it's okay for me to say, hey, don't kid yourself if you're voting for Joe Biden. You're not voting against fascism or racism or against peace. You're actually perpetuating that by doing so, and I have every right to say that stuff. So, Johnny, did you have anything else you want to say about that real quick? All right, so the next one, fam, this is what I think you are, a true progressive. Okay, true progressives still hold Medicare for All and a Green New Deal at the top of their list, but unlike neoprogressives, true progressives have a clear understanding of foreign policy, civil liberties, and how it ties into immigration and the ever-growing and dangerous security state. Even though true progressives have racial and social justice change high in their standards, they won't be pressured into voting for a corporate Dem.
Wow. Yeah.
You're a true progressive,
Those are my
fam.
friends.
That's you. Fam is a true progressive.
But yeah.
Where would you disagree or agree? Please.
No. I agree. I mean, I think the word progressive has been unfortunately just used in general. So a lot of people who consider themselves progressives, we might not consider them. This is just for visibility and for guide. We're not saying this is like our law and this is how it has to be.
When people say, somebody asked me what I really want to know, I said, you know what, I'm going to do a show about it. I'm going to write it out and then let Fam critique it and Johnny critique it and see what we can do. So, I mean, that's just my personal opinion. When people ask me, what is Fam? Is she a progressive or a neo-progressive? I'm like, no, Fam is a true progressive, and this is the definition of her. I mean, because I know how you think that Medicare for All and a Green New Deal is very important. However, you understand foreign policy. You understand civil liberties. And a lot of true progressives, like Graham Elwood, you know what I'm saying? Like Ron Pacone. I think Jimmy is there too as well, like true progressives. They understand how important foreign policy is and our civil liberties, and they know how to tie it into policy. You know what I'm saying? They do the extradition. I'm not saying that the neo-progressives don't do work. Neo-progressives do crazy work in the streets. They're the people working these food banks right now, giving out the food, you know what I'm saying? And they're so invested in what they see and what they do, but they don't understand those other issues. For me, the most upsetting thing was when people were saying, oh, Tulsi Gabbard, you know, she ran because she was just doing for individual reasons. It's like, no. And a neo-progressive said that to me, and I'm like, you don't understand the issues. You don't understand it's not Tulsi Gabbard what I'm supporting. I'm supporting the issues of foreign policy tied into immigration, civil liberties tied into, you know what I'm saying? You got to understand that. If you don't understand it, neo-progressives need to wake up and understand those issues from the next group, which I consider myself to be a leftist libertarian. And that's exactly what it is. Johnny, if you want to put that leftist libertarian up for us, it's exactly that. It's a libertarian-minded people in the areas of civil liberties, anti-interventionism, transparent elections, but we don't agree with the libertarians on the right, their fiscal policies, and their fight against socialized medicine and climate control. However, those two issues, Green New Deal and Medicare for All, are looked at as secondary to us because leftist libertarians still hold institutions in high regards. In other words, we still believe that we have to fix our civil liberties, our elections, and end the regime change wars and bring that money home to have a Green New Deal and Medicare for All. We sometimes feel that the progressives, we argue this sometimes is putting the cart before the horse, where you're 100% accurate, that people are going to only realize what's in front of them until we change that. Then we can go after the other ones. We just feel it's the other way around. We don't feel we can have that without the other, so we hold those other issues in high regards. But a leftist libertarian like myself does believe in racial justice, does believe in criminal justice, does believe in a Green New Deal of sorts. Not to say a Green New Deal, the Off Fossil Fuel Act, I want to still get to a place where we can repair the environment. It doesn't necessarily have to be the Green New Deal, but something like that. I believe in science, and I believe that if we find a way to bomb all these countries, we can find a way to take care of everybody. Every single country has Medicare for All. This is where the fiscal libertarians on the right don't believe in that. They believe in the free market. That's the difference. You have us leftist libertarians on the left, and quite frankly, a lot of the neo-progressives have pushed us away. We know that the neoliberals didn't want us there. They fucking hated Tulsi. They hated people like us. They wanted us out.
Yeah.
But the neo-progressives took their bait and pushed us out too as well in this last election, rather than saying, hey, screw the establishment. We're taking these leftist libertarians in here because they're going to be with us on certain issues. Yeah. They might not hold Medicare for All and a Green New Deal at the highest standards like us, and we understand why you do that. But these other issues are also important to us. It's important to have clean, fair, transparent elections. It's important to have our civil liberties in place, fam. People, the taking down of these Facebook pages right now, ladies and gentlemen, Twitter. We told you about this shit.
Yeah. And I just want to say, among the progressive group, there's also vast differences because I'm far more anti-authoritarian than, say, a Marxist. I'm extremely libertarian in my views as well, of choice. But I'm far to the left on the spectrum of progressives. Like, I don't like democratic socialism personally as much as I like full-on socialism and anarcho-communism myself. But I know that in America isn't going to necessarily work right now because people lose their shit when they hear the word socialism. So personally, what I am is the closest thing would be to an anarcho-communist. But that's still within the range of progressives. I still believe that we need to fix the system. I don't believe we can reform the Democratic Party. And I don't know if that's a category and it's a separate itself. I do not believe we can reform the Democratic Party. I think the only way that progressives will move forward is if we get rid of the Democratic Party, stop giving it power, build outside cadres, like outside third parties, while simultaneously fighting for civil liberties, fighting for election integrity, because without those, we're never going to get the Green New Deal and the Medicare for All and all these things. So I believe kind of simultaneously doing both of the things, because if we don't, we're never going to hold that power. We're never going to be able to take that power. And so I consider myself like pretty much on that range. And I'm not trying to diss what people believe in and all, but I think if we are smart, we will leave the Democratic Party completely. And I think some people are still trying to work within it and doing what they can, and I totally understand that. But I'm kind of to the point where I just think there is no way, it is a waste of our our time. We could have great leaders, great organizers on the side of third parties helping get more ballot access, helping get ranked choice voting, helping revamp the whole election system to actually make it fair. Because guess what? When you do that, you're gonna hate the Democrats, because when we started doing that, when we started investigating our elections, we saw just how corrupt they are and how they are impeding us from having the people on the outside from having a fair shake at the system. It's not Republicans that got rid of Bernie Sanders. It was the Democrats that got rid of Bernie Sanders. So to me, my biggest enemy right now is the Democratic Party, because the Democratic Party is keeping people like Bernie Sanders away from having any power, and that they are responsible. If we would have had Bernie in 2016, Nico House pointed this out in a tweet. If we would have had Bernie in 2016, he could have appointed 3 Supreme Court justices. And where would we be right now? We wouldn't be where we are right now. People wouldn't be in the conditions they are right now. He would have had a Green New Deal. He would have had all these things as little, as short as he felt, and as not great on foreign policy or civil liberties as he should be. Bernie is the kind of person that you could push. Yeah. But Bernie is the kind of person you could push too, because he doesn't take the corporate money. See, you can't push a corporatist anywhere because he doesn't respond to you. So stop saying you're going to push Biden left once you get rid of Trump, because you're not. You're not going to be able to.
In 2016, he was going around with Tulsi. I don't even think Tulsi was really known to be that leftist libertarian at the time. She's an independent-minded thinker. Once again, like on the libertarian side,
and she's never been a Republican. So.
Yeah, but you even talked about non-interventionist. For the most part, I am, but there are times when I would intervene, and so would Tulsi. Where, when you make the joke that you're more of a libertarian than me, but independent-minded think. I mean, these are just kind of like blanket statements about who they are at the core.
Ideas.
They're still independent-minded thinking. We can think certain ways. And I don't know why I get chastised and criticized for wanting the Democratic Party to be destroyed and knocked into a million pieces so that we can build a real opposition party. I don't know why that makes me a fascist.
This is controlled opposition. The Democrats are controlled opposition, and so are the Republicans. Think about it. They keep you guys in check. They keep the Republicans voting for Trump in check. They keep the Democrats voting for Democrats in check. And then what happens is you don't talk to each other. You hate each other. You built this polarized thing, and everybody else that falls in, that doesn't vote, which is a vast majority of people, and that could go one way or the other, completely loses touch of politics and doesn't want to be involved because they see the system is going nowhere. They see the system of being a duopoly of nothing.
And that's why I get mad with sometimes the neo-progressives, because they don't have that discussion, that nuanced discussion that, we have some things to fix culturally, the way we treat each other. That's important, don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, we also have to point the fingers at who's pulling the strings and take them out. And a lot of that is voided of the conversation. The actual policy and who's making those decisions and who's funding them. And if you had those conversations, you shouldn't as well be fucking shilling for Joe Biden right now if you knew that. If you knew he's part of that system that's going to keep you down and you realize that, you wouldn't be shilling. We got to get to a thing, so let's get to the next topic.
Yep. So you forgot True Rebel.
Hey!
Okay, Johnny is
Johnny
the
True Rebel,
Johnny,
baby.
What do you say?
Some people say they don't like labels.
I know, I don't either, but...
he's just putting out these ideas.
And your girl, Tulsi,
gotcha.
No labels.
Gotcha. I think Tulsi is more of a leftist libertarian than any of those. Once again, she's an independent thinker, but when it comes to...
And I want to say that I liked Slow News' comment.
Yeah.
Where he's like, what'd he say? He said...
So he's Slow News Day, right? I want to do Slow Day News.
I'm an anarcho-ethanogenian. What is that?
That's Steve. That's a Poikonin. That's a Poikonism.
That's a Poikonism. Okay,
a
Steve.
Poikonism.
Guess what? We're gonna have a battle. We'll see who's more anarcho, whatever, than the two of us. Okay, Steve. All right.
That's a nice Poikonism. All right. So listen, the next one is about Breonna Taylor. Her killer receives no charges for her death. Surprise. Did they keep their freaking job, or did they at least fire them?
So the Kentucky grand jury indicted an officer. One officer only, but not for the death of Breonna Taylor. They brought no charges against the Louisville police for her killing. This was during a drug raid supposedly gone wrong. This is with prosecutors saying today that 2 officers who fired their weapons at the black woman were justified in using force to protect themselves, even though she was sleeping in her house. Okay. The grand jury instead charged fired officer Brett Hankinson with 3 counts of wanton endangerment for firing into Taylor's neighbors' homes during their raid on the night of March 13th. The FBI is still investigating potential violations of federal law in the case. And Breonna Taylor was a black emergency medical technician who was shot multiple times by the officers who entered her home during a narcotics investigation on March 13th. The warrant used to search her name had been approved as a no-knock warrant, but at a news conference, State Attorney General Daniel Cameron said Hankinson and the 2 other officers who entered her apartment and announced themselves before entering the apartment, and that one civilian witness corroborated that evidence. So because they announced themselves, I guess that's fine. So this is what the police do.
What do they knock real quick and then they go in right away.
Haven't we experienced
like, it's
that?
Not like it's
Remember, they literally knocked on the window and then literally 3 seconds later blasted all the windows. This is what they do. Why are people protesting? People ask, why are these people protesting? This is why they're protesting, because they're not getting any justice. They're not getting any justice at all. And it doesn't matter if the governor, if whoever is of whatever color they are, whatever gender they are. These people are not across the board. Republicans and Democrats are not protecting people from law enforcement. They're not doing any changes. What policy has Joe Biden introduced to protect people from the police? Nothing. This is what I go back to. What has Kamala Harris done to protect people? The sheriffs don't even have cameras. They're supposed to get them in October, for crying out loud. In what? The LA sheriffs don't have cameras yet.
Yeah. I mean, and no politicians coming forth talking about any real systemic change here. They're just staying in the bushes. They're not coming out of their houses, and they're hiding. But fam, there is some good news.
So I just want to say, we're going to be going to cover a protest in a minute, because protests are going to be happening all over, and they're already happening in Louisville. I don't know if you can pull up any video from people marching, because there's already a lot of people marching, and there was an emergency order issued before declared, because people knew that they weren't going to give a good a verdict. So again, this is why people protest. If you see no justice, right, you ain't getting no peace. I mean, it's just very simple. If you want people to stop protesting, and if you don't want people to get mad and riot, well, let's bring some justice here. Let's get this shit taken care of. Let's put these charges on these people. If I burst into somebody's house and shoot them, even if I'm a cop, I should pay for the consequences. I shouldn't get a slap on the wrist, which is what happened.
Well, I mean, this is a good subject that Hillary Clinton can talk about on her new podcast, fam. Did you know Hillary Clinton's got a new podcast coming out?
Nobody wants to hear that woman in a podcast. She gets no ticket sales, and still she wants to go and start a podcast. And now every politician, Pete Buttigieg started a podcast. Didn't Obama start a Netflix series or a podcast or something?
Oh, Jesus.
Right now?
That was 23 minutes ago.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, no. I don't want to see Donald Trump Jr., I tell you that much. Damn, we got to get out there and see what's going to happen. Yeah. We're going to get crazy out over here now.
So, guys, don't listen to Hillary Clinton's podcast, because it's.
How can we miss you if you don't go away?
She never goes away.
She's terrible. I mean, that's what everybody's doing. They're starting their own podcast. Hillary Clinton starting her own podcast.
Yeah, what? Get out of our shit, Hillary.
Well,
like,
that's what they're doing. They're using big time financial dollars to compete in an area where we're being defunded and demonetized, so we can't even breathe. But yet, millions of dollars, they get to say what they want. Once again, civil liberties, protect them. Johnny, this is in Louisville, huh?
Jesus Christ. They're 2 hours ahead? 2?
3, I think.
3.
Two, might be 2. All right, we're bringing helmets today. Press
Yeah.
helmets out today, ladies and gentlemen. Press helmets out.
Let's follow them from the back.
Which you better believe they're going to try to start fucking censoring our press voices and stuff. They don't want you
Oh,
to see
yeah.
what they're doing because they're going to overreach now. They're going to act out.
Yeah.
They're
It's
going to
a-
use this as
yeah.
an excuse to
Bars.
fire their to shoot their projectiles and they're going to use this as an excuse. But guess what? Too bad. Americans' First Amendment right, freedom of speech. It's within our civil liberties. We are allowed to protest peacefully. And if you go out there and start attacking people who are peacefully protesting because some other agitator did something, you're out of line and you should be held accountable. Go after the person who throws the water bottle. It's always like one person does stuff and they unload on everybody else.
And really, do you have to unload weapons of war on a person who throws a water bottle? Why don't you just go grab them and put them aside or something? Like, I'm not even advocating for that because it's like, why are these people protesting? Wouldn't it be better to just be entirely peaceful to them? Just be entirely peaceful and say, just be there. If you have to be there, if it's your job to be there, just be there instead of acting like you're G.I. Joe. Because that's what they do. They're acting like they're fucking G.I. Joe. They're bringing the imperialism to these very streets in America.
And excessive force, there's no excuse for that. I hear always, you're the writers, you got to stop that. What about the excessive force used on some of these people that have been killed in the streets? Attorneys say independent autopsy shows Dejan Kizzy was shot 15 times. What? I mean, there is no reason, there is no excuse that can amount to 5 times, let alone 15.
Yep.
Where's your argument?
15 times for a bike code violation, and then later they supposedly when they shot him, he dropped a weapon. So
where's the pro police people? Where's the excuse now? I want to hear it 15 freaking times.
So
cops have shitty aim. Everyone knows that.
15
Shut up,
gunshot
Deep Space.
wounds, and disputed the sheriff's department assertion that he pointed a gun at deputies before he was shot in South LA last month. And this is this happened really close. These are the protests now that Jonny has been covering a lot of, and I've been to a couple of them. But these are the protests where the sheriff have unleashed extreme weapons against the protesters within minutes of them getting there, them doing absolutely nothing, and then have confiscated their water bottles and their food, like just stupid things like that.
No, taking away their water and shit, that's just freaking deep, dark, stupid shit. Like,
it's
whatnot.
So
You're like saying that, God forbid, somebody gets gas, you're going to take away water to put on their faces? Fam, when we were in that goddamn van and they came in, we were throwing, me and Fia were like, we got to get out of here. It was the harsh gas. We were throwing sparkling water all over our face. It's disgusting. You're going to take away water from people? The first time we were gassed on that Sunday night, I was like, I can't see, and I was cursing. Somebody came up with a bunch of water, just poured all over my face. You're trying to take that away? That means you're already planning on doing some freaking scandalous shit. Kobe Bryant's wife sues the LA Sheriff's Department over a cover-up.
Yeah.
And what's this about?
The LA Sheriff's Department, has been caught going after journalists, protesters, etc. But also now that Vanessa Bryant, who is Kobe Bryant's widow, caught the Sheriff's Department doing some cover-ups.
It wasn't. I was trying to put it up, but it wasn't letting me do that. Or right here. Try this. We'll try this again. Jonny, you might have to read this because it keeps.
Oh, we got it.
Oh, see, it keeps doing that. I can't get rid of that. I keep hitting this one. Here, let me try this. I'll try it one more time. See, it won't enable ad block. That won't let me. Son of a bitch. Let me try that.
Jonny. No.
I'm just trying
article,
the
Vanessa
subscription
Bryant,
thing.
I just wanted to.
Yeah. I can't. It won't let me take this thing up, even though I pause the ads and stuff.
Yeah, if you can just put it.
Vanessa Bryant has sued the Los Angeles Sheriff's Police Department over deputies sharing unauthorized photo of the scene of the helicopter crash that killed her husband, Kobe Bryant, and their daughter and 7 others. Shortly after the January 27th crash, Vanessa Bryant alleges Sheriff Alex Villanueva personally assured her that his deputies were securing the crash to ensure her privacy. Her suit comes after Los Angeles Times investigation revealed that deputies had taken and shared photos of the crash scene. Villanueva's doing a hell of a job, fam. What do you think? Glory Jones, Villanueva re-election. What do you think? I know, but if she watches it back, maybe she can comment on that. But there you go.
Yeah, and I really wanted to go over this real quick because Kshama Sawant is doing amazing work. Can I just say this woman?
Yes.
She goes after the Democrats hard. core. So this judge ruled that a recall effort against her, Seattle City Councilwoman Kshama Sawant, can proceed because they're trying to get rid of her. Basically, they said that she violated all of these things. There was a couple of things that the judge found her, the 4 complaints valid. And they said that Sawant violated city and state laws by misusing city resources and her official authority when she opened Seattle City Hall in June to protesters who staged a late-night demonstration inside the building. She also participated in a march to Mayor Jenny Durkan's house last month, causing a breach that could have compromised the mayor's personal safety.
Oh.
Because of Durkan's previous work as a federal attorney, her home address is not widely known for security reasons. 3, Sawant delegated hiring and firing decisions of her office staff to her outside political groups identified as a National Executive Committee and Seattle Executive Committee of the Socialist Alternative. And 4, Sawant misused city resources in promoting a ballot initiative earlier this year regarding passage of a new tax on some of the city's largest employers. So, the judge, they're basically, as if you read this and you understand the situation, they're basically trying to get rid of her for pretty much doing what every politician should be doing, is using the people and her supporters to really push for change. Because previously she got the Fight for 15 in Seattle. That was the first area that got $15 an hour thanks to the work of what she did. But she does what the squad should be doing. They use people to build protests, to build movements, to push the politics, and she's gotten a lot of that done. But in spite of the judge saying that the complaints against her can proceed and they're going to have to gather thousands of signatures to make this happen, despite all of that, and like I said, they did this too because she threat to the establishment. Remember, she's not a Democrat, and she was able to override Jenny Durkan's veto of a bill to reduce police budget because they had fought for defunding the police. This is what the protesters in Seattle were doing. They had their 5 demands, etc. And the mayor, Jenny Durkan, was trying to override that with something that was defunding the police a little bit, and she wasn't happy about this. So after a sometimes contentious 3+ hour meeting Tuesday, the Seattle City Council overrode Mayor Jenny Durkan's veto of a bill to slightly reduce the police department's 2020 budget. The 7 yes votes were enough to override council members Alex Peterson's and Deborah Juarez's votes of no. The vote does not mean the cuts, which amounted to about 1% of the department's $400 million annual budget, will take effect. The council, as a legislative branch of city government, can pass legislation and budgets, but we cannot force the mayor to spend or not spend as we have directed. Okay, so basically they didn't. She vetoed the minimal defunding the police because she wants to pass a bigger cut of the Seattle in the Seattle City Council.
$400 measly million is it? That's it.
Exactly.
Yeah. The only reason Democratic politicians were defeated today was because of the absolute ferociousness, fight back from the movement, not because of the largesse. What do you say? Is that supposed to be largest of the Dems?
Largesse.
Of the Dems. What good words, Kshama. Let's remember that we head Kshama. Let's remember that as we head into a continued fight to defund the police by at least 50%. And to cancel rent. I mean, she's on the right side, so they're canceling the rent.
She wants to cancel rent. She wants to defund the police by 50%. So she's really not taking any. This is an example, and an example of what Democrats should be. This is what Democrats should be. This is what they're not, though, because the Democrats hate her. They're trying to get rid of her. Jenny Durkan is a Democratic mayor. She's a Democratic mayor who worked with the intelligence. She worked as a federal prosecutor, but before that, she had some work in the foreign policy sector that nobody can ask questions about with the FBI.
You know who really annoys me sometimes at this points like that, and I'm sorry if you're a friend of mine who was one of those people out there or people back east, is those Trumpers who say, oh, we can't defund the police, we got to support the policemen when like that. You don't say dick when they keep defunding teachers and nurses and whatnot. And teachers and nurses have to deal with getting defunded all the time and still have to do their job. So whether we like it or not, if the police department gets defunded, they still got to do their job.
It doesn't mean you're not paying people. It just basically means that you're going to have social workers come in. You're going to have psychiatrists and psychologists come in. You're going to have other people who are equipped to deal with mentally ill people, because people keep getting shot for being mentally ill or killed for being mentally ill because you're putting police that aren't equipped to handle that in charge.
Yeah.
And they keep
shooting people who are mentally ill. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And also, you don't need heavily militarized police. So all of that money that's getting funded to militarize the police shouldn't go there. You want to talk about the military? Whew. The military is the arm that is supporting the police.
Johnny, I put one last article in there real quick because it was breaking news. Just some news came out. It's on the bottom part of the folder, and it says plain and simple: breaking. Senate Finance and Homeland Security Committees released devastating report on Hunter Biden, Burisma, corruption. The crooked Biden family enriched themselves, and Obama knew.
Now, this is the Gateway Pundit, which is a right-wing news
source. But this is something we've been talking about for a long time.
Yeah, we've been talking about it.
I understand the Gateway Pundit is the Gateway Pundit, baby, but we've been talking about this for a long time. Not only that, Joe Biden admitted that he got the prosecutor. Would you know the prosecutor was fired? And we got somebody who was reputable, who wouldn't prosecute my son.
Joe Biden saying that.
Dude, and we talked about this in Obama. Obama gave Biden the go-ahead. He said, you handle Ukraine. Remember Victoria Nuland, who made the phone call to Biden? Biden gave thumbs up on the regime change. A bloody regime change on the Maidan, where they supported neo-Nazis to the nth degree to go over and overturn the government. Here it is.
I see you with the microphone.
Thank you. Hello, Mr. Vice
Hey, Margaret,
President.
good to see you.
My question is, should we actually be going on offense in the information war, in the cyber war, in terms of delegitimizing, not just exposing the corruption, but really playing offense the way they're playing offense?
The answer is yes, but not necessarily in the cyberspace where we go in, and most of what happens in the cyberspace is altering information or preventing information from being able to come forward. I think we should be on the offensive in making it clear exactly what we know Russia and or Putin in particular is doing. And I think we should be working much more closely with our European and allies around the world and exposing and getting them to stand up and acknowledge with us that this is what's happening here. That message gets through. I mean, to go back, when I got here, the last vestige of that Cold War was Radio Free Europe and Radio, all. It was an attempt to broadcast the truth into Russia. And I think somehow we have to have
It said Joe Biden made the remarks during a meeting on a foreign policy specialist. That same meeting right there. Biden said he threatened Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko in a March 2016 that the Obama administration will pull $1 million U.S. loan guarantee, sending former Soviet Republican towards insolvency. It didn't immediately immediately fire the prosecutor General Viktor Shokin. Biden suggested his talk that Barack Obama was on the threat. In other words, what he said is, if you don't fire this prosecutor who's looking into my son's shady deals, Viktor Shokin, you're not getting the $1 billion loan.
Right.
Then in a phone call tapped in, he says, I heard that Shokin was fired. I'm a man of my word. You'll get the $1 billion. Well, they didn't count on Hillary Clinton not seizing the presidency and and being able to continually protect them. That's why that whole impeachment was disgusting, because all the Democrats, there were people carpetbagging in there, including Hunter Biden, who made billions of dollars in Burisma, millions of dollars with Burisma. Nancy Pelosi's son, Paul Pelosi, got a contract. Adam Schiff and John Kerry were carpetbagging. All these people made money on a regime change they supported. So for them to turn around and try to impeach Donald Trump on a Ukrainian phone call.
They just look like a bunch of hypocrites, especially when they were spewing the Russiagate, and they're still trying to bring back the Russiagate conspiracy.
And
fear-mongering and all these other things. This is all just a bunch of fear-mongering from the two-party system on both ends. The right fear-mongers about the socialists, communists, Biden-Harris, which is completely laughable. And then the Democrats fearmonger about, Donald Trump and how he's this Nazi, and and Donald Trump is, but the fascists are also the Democrats. They're both fascists. This is why we got to get rid of the whole system. That is all I'm advocating for. Get rid of the whole system. I'm not advocating for Trump. And people should stop automatically reacting, saying you're advocating for Trump just when we're criticizing the Democratic Party. I know who my enemies are. I know the Republicans are my enemies, but the Democrats pretend to be your friend. And that's why we talk about the Democrats a lot, because the Democrats are the ones impeding the progressives from getting any power in the Democratic Party or outside of it. by cheating and pushing out the green people off the ballot. So
yeah. I just want to send some special love out there to Justin Williamson, who's on the Facebook today. Justin, thank you so much for all your... He's a comrade. He's a great guy. Thank you so much for all your lovely words.
Thank you, Justin.
And to all those other people out there on our ROKFIN, Glory's gone. She's at the protest. We better go catch up with her and stuff. But thank you very much, Holly Horn, Larry Janney, all those other people. Where's Pishman today? He's not around. Matthew Hassan. We love you all. And to the 300 people plus who were on YouTube today, thank you so much. Remember, if you can help out a couple bucks a month here, we do have a Patreon. It's growing and growing each time. Ooh, Tijwazi Raghurama. I don't know if I said it right. Your integrity is inspiring. You both and Jimmy Dore are the only relevant progressives on YouTube trying to demand more from the DNC before election. Love you both and love you more when you are on the couch together. More power to you.
Thank you.
Aww.
We appreciate it.
Johnny, give me some dolphin. There you go. That's for you, Tijwazi. Thank you for that super chat contribution. Always appreciate it, Couch. If you go onto our Patreon, you can help out $1 a month, $2 a month, $5 a month, whatever. It's really, really appreciated. COVID's coming to an end. That means the Convo Couch is getting back on the road. Jonny Tsu has been preparing us for the fields with gas masks, helmets, everything we need, great press passes, and we're going to get back out there. Do you guys want to tell them what we're doing this weekend, Johnny?
We're going to Denver.
We're going to Denver, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, not just fighting for racial justice over here, civil liberties, right, Johnny? What they're doing right now in Denver, this is really encompassed. We should all pay attention to this, because if they can kill the messenger like they did for Julian Assange, anybody who supports these organizations that really get out there for peaceful protests, they can go after you and change the narrative and say, hey, I'm sorry, what you did was wrong. They're accusing the organizers of kidnapping, aren't they, John?
Yeah.
There are felony charges of kidnapping the 18 police officers who were stuck in the police station that they surrounded. And it's not like they were rioting or yelling and stuff like that. They were just standing outside the police station.
I'm sorry.
These are the dirty tactics they'll go to.
How do these
and they
protesters
these people.
kidnap? How do these protesters kidnapping a bunch of officers with like military grade weapons?
Fam, what does Angry Seal say?
Angry Seal. This is Angry Seal. Its name is Sam. It looks like pasta, I think.
There it is. Sam, get that Sammy the Seal right up in there. See,
all right, guys. We love you. We'll see you soon on the streets, on the front lines, on the grounds.
That's DF. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Patreon's there for Pasta Jardula.
And Fiorella.
Jonny Tsu is spinning on the ones and twos, and he spun today. He was all over the place. That's why I say ones and twos. It's like the DJ who's got to read the crowd. He's got to read the audience out there, read everybody dancing. Johnny is going around and on our speech, he's going to other things to pick up other articles, whatnot. Truly a mastermind. He's on the ones and twos. We're the Convo Couch.
Convo out. Peace.